Let's talk about the top 5 reasons why people lie about being victims of domestic violence from a criminal defense attorney. My name is Veronica. I am a criminal defense attorney here in Los Angeles, and I help people who have been arrested put their criminal cases behind them so that they can enjoy their lives and their freedom. So, in this line of work, I catch a lot of people in lies. I see a lot of people lying who are not involved in my cases when I'm at court. And I'd like to talk about the 5 top motives that I see for lying about domestic violence specifically. So number 1 is pretty obvious, and it's revenge, right? Someone dumps you, you're very, very angry at them, and actually, I won't say you. Some alleged victims, they get dumped, they are really angry, and they think, what can I do to get back at this person? And one thing is you can get them arrested. This is particularly true, and I've seen this quite a bit, where my client, the defendant, somebody who's been arrested, has criminal history, particularly for domestic violence. Sometimes I think it plants a little bit of a seed into the head of a somewhat off-kilter person when they hear, oh, you were accused of domestic violence before, and you were falsely accused, and you got put in jail anyway. And, I think that sometimes that comes out because they know that the X now is, I'm trying so hard not to use gendered words here, but I'm just going to move with she as the alleged victim and he as the defendant, because that is what I most often see. Not always, but most often see. So sometimes I think she'll hear, okay, he's really afraid of going back to jail. This was a horrible situation that he has now put behind him. And so when he dumps her, some people, some women and some men, decide to take revenge in this way, just kind of piercing at exactly the fear that they know that their former partner has. Number 2 is for leverage. You want something. You want the other person to move out of the apartment. So maybe you file a domestic violence restraining order. You want them to pay for something. You want custody of the dog or the cat, which maybe is understandable, but you can't do it, right? It's not right. And the consequences, once you call the cops, once there is that police report, it doesn't matter how much remorse you feel, doesn't matter how much you tell the DA or the police officer that you lied, it's out of your hands. So leverage, I see that in a lot of situations. Number 3 is for attention. And some of these motives, do I necessarily know the true motive of the person I'm cross-examining? No, but these are areas to explore, and these are areas that I've been successful in showing juries, judges, DAs are motives for lying. And attention, when I see that someone is posting on social media, making TikToks about how they were abused, showing, oh, I have this bruise, they're crying on the TikTok, maybe there's some Sarah McLachlan playing, or, whatever, that is a red flag, because yes, it could be true that you're abused and you choose to do that. Maybe you want support. But for the most part, I think that people who are doing that are sending up red flags. And if I can catch someone in a lie, maybe a few lies, and also show this motive, show that they're posting all these TikToks and trying to get all this attention. Amber Heard is one of these people. She was one of the proponents of Me Too from very early on. And I will tell you, I did spot that bullshit. But because I see it in real life all of the time. And when someone is so adamant about, talking about it on social media publicly all of the time, it's a red flag. It doesn't mean that everyone who is an advocate for people who have been abused, it doesn't mean that those people who are saying, hey, here's my story, that all of those people are lying. Of course not. And actually, most of the time when someone is advocating for domestic violence victims, sexual abuse victims, and was one themselves, that situation's already over. I'm talking about cases where the criminal case is ongoing. There's an open court case and someone is posting on TikTok about it. And I do think that there is a difference there, at least in how I perceive it, as to whether it's a red flag. Number 4 is mental illness. Sometimes they have hallucinations. Sometimes there is borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, whatever it may be that can influence someone, even anxiety, depression, that can influence someone to act in this way and to lie about being abused when they weren't. And number 5, and this is the biggest one, and honestly one of the most disgusting things about the legal profession. Number 5 is child custody. So I'm a lawyer in California. You may or may not be in California, and this may or may not be the law in your state or your country. But here in California, if there's a finding in family court, so the court that decides custody, that domestic violence occurred in the relationship, and this can be because of a criminal case, this can be because of a protective order. This can be just part of a child custody hearing. If there's a finding of domestic violence, there is a rebuttable presumption that it is not in the best interest of the child to be with the abusing party. What does that mean? So in California, the default for child custody is 50-50. But you can get a leg up on that. You can basically trump that. Do we use that anymore? Trump that? I don't know. But you can basically, turn the tables, get an advantage if you claim domestic violence. And the reason why I say that this is a disgusting thing about the legal profession, and you won't hear me say that many bad things about the legal profession in general. I like lawyers in general. But what I have a problem with is that a lot of family law attorneys will counsel their clients, mostly female clients, at the beginning of the case. So somebody wants to get a divorce, they go into the attorney's office, the attorney says, maybe they say, hey, you know what, I want 75% custody because of whatever XYZ reasons, and the family law attorney, the divorce attorney says, well, in California, the default is 50-50. That's what it's going to be, or something close to that, unless. And then how exactly they do it, what exactly is said, I couldn't tell you exactly what it is. Anything I would say about that is hearsay, but I've even heard it from clients, which is basically they suggest to them, hey, how about if you allege domestic violence, file this domestic violence restraining order in family law court, even though maybe you don't need it. Maybe he's the one who broke up with you. You guys are done. You're living in separate places. You're all good. But if you file that and you are successful, now you get a leg up on custody. And now that 75% that you wanted, well, that is back on the table. That's a huge one. That is one of the biggest ones that I see. Somebody maybe they consult with a divorce attorney, and then all of a sudden they get into an argument. Maybe they're still living in the same house with their spouse, whatever, soon to be ex-spouse, and they call the cops. And now all of a sudden, there's maybe a criminal case. Maybe they already have a bruise like I commonly do from knocking myself into the door or swinging my bag around or whatever, and they show that to the cop. Now it's $50,000 bail. That's $5,000 in California to get out from most bail bondsmen. And now there's this restraining order hearing. So now the odds, the deck is stacked against the other party when they started out on an even playing field. Anyway, I hope that this helps. And, I'm not saying this to say that nobody's a victim of domestic violence, sexual abuse, any other crime. Of course, people are, of course. I've known people close to me that have been, of course. However, I've also caught many people in lies about this, verifiable lies. And people lie all of the time. And it is a big problem in criminal defense. And it is my job to figure out, okay, what are they lying about? Why are they lying? And how can I show that to the judge, to the jury, to the DA to help my client out? If you do have a case in California that you need help with, feel free to book a call with me down below. You can give me a call or just click on the link to book a free consultation.